Okay, ladies, 25 is your cutoff to get married. I had to just do something to, get you guys in to watch this video, to listen to this podcast. But let me just kind of go back to my philosophy, because I realized that people need repetition. I can say something one time, but I see that people have to hear something like a hot 7 times before it sinks in. So I've said this before, and I've said this multiple times, and I'm gonna say it again. You should settle your home by your mid-20s, not mid-30s, by your mid-20s. And if that seems so young for some people, then it's just very unfortunate, because that's the society that we're in today. Unfortunately, okay, this is just the restriction that the Lord has put on us, but we only have a hot 15-year window, okay, when it comes to having a family. Now, before we continue, if you are someone who you don't want marriage, you don't want kids, you don't want family, you want to be single, this is not for you, okay? This is not for you. Praise the Lord for feminism and all that stuff. You're not forced to get married. There's no arranged marriages. No one is selling you off. But for you women who even have the slightest chance in your mind that, hey, one day I actually want to be married and have a family, I urge you to start sooner rather than later. And I know what I'm saying is very unpopular, but do I really have to convince you? Just look around you, right? We're in a singleness epidemic, right? All the people are saying, oh, chase your careers, just live your life. That's too young. You want to make sure you're independent. Where has it gotten us, especially as Black women? Right now, either in 2023, or I highly doubt that this research was conducted in 2025, but as far as 2023, if you go to Black demographics, only 27% of Black women in America are married. That's only like 1 in 4 Black women are married. We have the highest rate of singleness than any other demographic. Even Black men, they're marrying at higher rates than we are. I mean, obviously they divest and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, we're not getting more women married by following this advice. And the women in my generation, millennials, that have followed the advice of Gen X to just chase your career are now in therapy rooms. They are grieving because they hit the wall. 25, this is where most other cultures, like white people, Indians, Latina, women, they know that, hey, we're supposed to get married young. Why? Because this is our peak fertile years. These are peak, not even just that. That's just one reason why you should get married in your mid-20s. But one of the biggest reasons, I'm going to give you 2, but one of the biggest reasons is family planning. Some of y'all, it is such bad strategy, and we have to get out of this habit. It is extremely bad strategy to wait until your 30s to even think about marriage. And by that time, you're in a rush, right? Unlike when you're in your 20s, when you are your preference's preference, it's like you don't even realize it because you're surrounded by men. Some of you guys are in college or still doing your master's or whatever. You are in a pool of eligible men, or you have a pool of eligible men, and you're getting approached, all that stuff. But it's almost like the paradox of like a frog being boiled alive. If you guys have ever heard of this, and I think it's pseudoscience, but it's said that if you put a frog in boiling water and you slowly, not boiling water, but in water, and you slowly increase the temperature, the frog keeps acclimating and doesn't realize that it's being boiled alive. That is a similar thing when it comes to you, and marriage, right? You don't realize that, hey, once you hit your 30s, the same options and the pool of men that you had for just existing in your 20s, it's a gradual decline until you realize that, wait, where are all the men who wanted me in my 20s? Because you were the preference, you had the highest bargaining power. Now, when you get into your 30s, you have to exert a lot more effort. You have to be a lot more intentional versus just making my way downtown, walking fast, faces passing them homebound, right? Like, you could just be walking around, in your 20s and be approached by so many different men. However, like I'm saying, once you get to your 30s, you actually have to be more intentional. You actually have to go on the dating apps. You actually have to do the speed dating events. You actually have to talk to men versus men just constantly approaching you. Well, and that's just because you're young and you might be positioned in a major city. But anyways, so your bargaining power starts to decline the older that you get. Okay, so, and remember, your bargaining power is what value are you offering to the market? Okay, because men are looking for something just like you're looking for something. If you're looking for a successful man, a handsome man, a godly man, all these things, he's looking for something too. And if most men, marriageable men in their 30s who are ready to settle down are looking for women in their 20s, it doesn't make sense to start in your 30s. Your preference in your 20s. Another thing that we're not talking about is family planning. Okay, that's the second biggest thing, family planning. When you get married in your mid-20s, even if you didn't want a honeymoon baby and you wanted to travel the world, and this is another thing too, just came to me. When people say, oh, you should just live your life, travel your world, do this, do that. Why can't you do that with a good husband, right? Why can't you just travel the world, enjoy your husband, have sex, do this, do that, buy a house together, do all that stuff without feeling rushed because you settled your home? If you wanted to wait until 28 to have your first child, you have some flexibility and room to do that. If you only want 2 kids, you have some flexibility. But this is just research, right? This is data. Your fertility sharply declines after 35. This does not mean that you cannot get married. I mean, you cannot have kids after 35. Obviously, people have kids all the way into their 40s. That's not the point. The point is the quality of your eggs start to decline the older that you get because you had a window, right? It's like, why even chance it? That is taking your fertility for granted by waiting until your 30s to even think about marriage. You have the best shot at having kids without much complications, because what they don't tell you is that 1 in every 4 pregnancies, not 1 in every 4 women, 1 in every 4 pregnancies end in a miscarriage. Having children is not as easy as you think, especially once you get deep into your 30s. It does become a little bit more difficult. You got to factor that into the equation, right? So it's not every time that you have sex that you pop out with a child. No, you have to time it. And again, the older that you get, you don't get pregnant every single shot. Even if you time everything perfectly, you measure ovulation, all that stuff, you can still have to try for a few months or 6 months before you actually conceive. And you just don't know. You could be that lucky person that can still get pregnant at 52, or you could be unlucky and your eggs and everything, your fertile years end by 37. You have no idea. You have no idea. We can't keep thinking we're God's special snowflake and everyone's name is Sarah. No, you have to use wisdom. Wisdom would say that, hey, God put a limit on you, right? So move within that limitation as a human, okay? So not even that with miscarriages and trying to conceive, but another thing too, like I'm saying, why you should get married by your mid-20s is because from the time that you start dating to the time that you even get into a relationship, no one is talking about this. This is not the 1900s where we have arranged marriages. You don't know how long that process is going to take because some of you guys just want to exist and you don't want to put yourself out there. You don't want to get on online dating. You don't want to talk to men. You just want to exist and your Prince Charming will come. You can do that more in your 20s, okay? You cannot have that same strategy and just exist and wait and pray and do nothing in your 30s. So if in your 20s, again, you just don't know. Let's say you're like, okay, I'm ready for marriage. You don't know how long that's going to take before a man says, you know what, I want you to be my girl. And you guys are exclusively dating. And then after that, what we're not talking about, from the time that you're exclusively dating to the time that you get married, that's all determined on the man. You don't get to push the man and say, hey, I want to get married in 6 months, so you have to marry me today. No, you're on his timeline. You are on his timeline. And because you're on his timeline, obviously you can leave at any point that you want, right? I'm not saying stay there for 10 years, But I'm also saying that you just don't know how that journey is going to play out. Then from there, people want to go from engaged to married. People want to have big wedding. That's another hurdle. Now, you know, my husband and I will always just recommend people to elope, right? Just elope and, you know, get the white man paperwork and have a big fancy wedding later, but I understand that's not everyone's cup of tea. Some people want to plan a wedding for an entire year. That's another year. Are you understanding how many years are being racked up? That's another year. Then some people, they don't want honeymoon baby. Oh, I want to enjoy my husband. Oh, I want to just travel. Oh, again, you should have done that earlier. You can't now wake up at the ripe age of 34 and you have not dated, you're not in a relationship, your biological time clock is ticking, and then say, oh yeah, let me take marriage seriously. You're about 10 years late. If you are wise, okay, plan, or at least put yourself out there, because there's too many of y'all that are doing too much preparatory, you know, preparatory marriage tactics, but you guys are not actively dating. Once you turn 25, your strategy has to shift. Up until that point, sure, do all the praying, the fasting, and the reading books up until 25. That's fine. But if you're not married by 25, you need to do half and half. Half prepping and therapy and all the stuff you people want to do, but you need to do half dating. Once you hit that 25 mark and you are not married, now it's time to push. You guys understand with, with your careers and education, y'all be pushing yourself like, oh my gosh, I have a 4-year degree. I mean, you know, did you know that there's more ways to do career, but you don't have the same flexibility when it comes to marriage? Like I said, you have a 15-year window. If in your career you want to do an apprenticeship, go straight into the job market and then go back to school, you can do that. Marriage is not something that you can come back to in your 30s and then be like, oh yeah, let me try to now consider marriage. It's not wise. Especially with the declining marriage rate, it is not wise to do that. So all this to say, if you're a young woman, right, and you're around your mid-20s, I urge you, take marriage seriously. Put yourself out there. If you're just going from church to work to home, now's the time to put yourself in environments where men are at. Position yourself. Now I have to be the Ruth to this generation, the Naomi to this generation, and be like, I need to find these women rest, because these women are just like Ruth, going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home, maybe going to the temple, coming home. Okay, if you're just going to work, going to church, and coming home, and you're not meeting any new men, your network is not increasing, you need to position yourself around more people, new people. Tell your friends and family, tell people in your network that you're looking for marriage, you're in the market for marriage. If they have any recommendations to hook you up, get on online dating if you must, join a run club, join some type of social group so that you can get in front of more men. So I hope this was helpful. If you want to support me, you can definitely buy my book, Single for 6 Years, Married in 6 Months. Go to 6years6months.com, and I will see you guys later.